James. Good morning, everyone. So delighted to be here and to be chairing this first panel, which I think will really set the stage in many ways for the discussions that follow in the next few days. As James mentioned, I'm a historian very much interested in the questions of migration, and I could go on at length about how important the Indo-Chinese refugee movement was, not only for Canada, but globally. But I'm also sort of feeling like Mike Malloy is the true historian in the room, so I'm not going to say too much. One of the things that I do want to mention quickly is that for those of us who work in universities, we have become increasingly aware of how important it is not only to include the voices of migrants and refugees whose histories they study, but to actually learn very seriously from their experiences, from the expertise that they bring. And so I'm just so delighted that we have such a wonderful panel this morning of individuals who are willing to share their stories with us. So I want to start by saying thank you very much. What I'll do is very briefly introduce the speakers. They will each, in turn, tell us a bit about their experiences leading their countries and some of the challenges that they faced. We'll hear later in the conference from people about their experiences settling in Canada. So this is very much about the departure stories. The full bios of the speakers are available in the program and on the website. So I'll just give you a bit of context, and then I will turn the floor over to our very distinguished panel. Our first speaker this morning is Pastor Punyan, who was born in Laos and escaped his country to Thailand. He is a captain with the Salvation Army, and we had a number of email exchanges this fall where he kept saying, I'm very busy, there's another fundraising event that I must attend to, and so I think that he is evidence of the kinds of great citizenship contributions that have fallen from, or have arisen from the refugees who came in 1979 and after. Our next speaker will be Mr. Nguyen Van Nguyen, who was born in Saigon, and he served in his country's Navy from 1970 to 1975. He currently lives in Toronto, and I understand he's very close to retirement, which is very exciting. Kim Nguyen, who also grew up in Saigon and left Vietnam in 1980. She currently works at the University of Winnipeg Library as a library reserve and e-reserve specialist. And our final speaker this morning will be Sam N, who is a former refugee from Cambodia, and you will see and hear from, well, you see in the program and hear from him today that he surmounted and survived some extraordinarily difficult circumstances. His daughter Sam is also here to help with translation. I understand that her name translates as lucky, and I think we are very lucky to have all of our panelists join us this morning. So, Pastor, if you would be willing to start with your presentation, if you would like to sit or come to the podium.
Standing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you everyone who are here. It's my honor to be invited to be part of the panel and to be part of Indo-China Refugee Conference from 1975 to 80. It is very honored to understand the story behind of the refugee to come to Canada. Now, it is my understanding it's just not by accident that we come here, but it's because of the hard work of the men and the women, the organization individually, church, association, or whatever, and the government of Canada. We are here not by accident, but it's by hard work of your people. I would like to acknowledge and thank you very much to make that happen. You have the history from a long time up until to this day, and I want to ask God to bless you, bless your heart, and continue to do a good work. And God will continue to bless you and bless this country. As you see the clip, most of the clip that you see are the boat people from Vietnam, because Vietnam have no land extension to any country beside that. So they have to escape by boat. Not unlike my country. You don't see the real suffering of those. My country, they have the Mekong River running through from the north to the south. So in order for the refugee from Laos to escape, they have to ride a boat. The boat I'm speaking about is, if you, in Laos, they learn French, right? They call it le pirogue, which is carved out of the big tree. There's so many thousand undocumented die along that Mekong River because of the sinking of the boat and no one can swim, especially women and children. This is the real story. I am one of them to cross the river on the boat. So my story is just like that. I was born in 1953. I was born in a very poor family. And at the age 16 and a half, I was recruited to the army because I am willing to do so because I need some income to support the family. I was included to the army is not the real army. It's someone that hired from the American CIA to do the dirty war, let's say. When I look back there, it's a very dirty war. But for me, it doesn't matter how dirty it is, all I need just money to live on. At the age of 16 and a half, I was accepted to that army. I was sent to Thailand and to train for 3 months as the radio operator. We trained to jump off the airplane. We trained to jump off from helicopter because we need, after that, they dropped us far away behind the enemy line to spy on the enemy. We worked along the Ho Chi Minh line every single day. In the past 3 years, 1969 to 1973, I never been home, but working in the front line with the American, with the CIA group. What do we do there? We eavesdrop the enemy, how they are moving, they move their equipment to the south. Why Laos is involved in the Vietnam War? Because the geographic of the Vietnam country, you see like a letter X. So divided in the middle. So in order for the North Vietnamese troops to go into the south and fight to the south, they have to cross my country, to cross the Cambodia. So they drag us into the war. So my job is to go and eavesdrop on that. Sometimes we settle on the mountain, listen on the radio. Sometimes we drop on the front line or behind the line to looking for the telephone line, to eavesdrop how the movement is. And then we order the B-52 bombing the country. And now I feel sorry about what the bomb that left behind. I am part of it. But what can I do? That's a war. It's a dirty war. War is no good for nobody. So in 1973, I was dismissed because the communists took over the country and the Americans left. I have no job. And I have a friend that assigned me to the real army, which is I don't like it. About a year later, I escaped, I jumped. So I came home with no job and stayed in my own village. And at the time, 73 to 75 is the time of uncertainties for so many people. The people start disappearing from the home. People starting to look at one another with no trust. Because anyone can sell anyone to the common. When that happened, everyone disappeared. So I decided, probably sooner or later, I'm to be one of them. I decided to escape. So on December the 2nd, 1975, which is the first day that the Lao government to celebrate the Victory Day as Canadian July the 1st. And I am the one to be the leader and take the people from my village to the soccer stadium because they have to have a big celebration. But I told the people, you take off those people and I have to take care of something else, and I go after that. At night time, I get on the boat and cross the Mekong River to another side. And then on the other side, I walk 2 days to get into Thailand. And when I crossed into Thailand, I was arrested. So we came sick together as a young man. So I was arrested and put in jail. You know what? They interrogate us for a few hours and bring out the paper, state that you have to go back to your country. And you sign the paper. And we don't know what to do. And what we did it, and they put us on the pickup truck and throw us to the border and drop us there. Do whatever you want, going to your home or whatever. They don't say nothing. So we wander around along that border in the forest, in the jungle. So we met other army there who came before us. But they set a group. They call themselves as the guerrilla or the resistance unit. And a couple days later, I met my own platoon commander. And he said, "Oh, you still alive?" "Yes, I am." "So, thank God," they don't say thank God, "we are lucky to have you." And I said, "Yes." So we have no choice. Stay with another group. You know what? We don't have nothing to eat. We have no money. We have no rice. You know what we do? We have a few weapons. We're going down back to our country and stealing from the people in order for us to survive. We're doing that for the next year and a half, fighting with the communists. We don't get any support from anyone. But you know what? Every single time we're going down, we gotta fight with the communists. And many of us are dead because we are under power. So for the next 1 year and a half, I decided sooner or later it's going to be me, and I want to dead here for nothing. So I decided to get back into Thailand and let the border authority to arrest me. So they put me in a refugee camp. So in that, I didn't know that the camp existed about 2 years before that. But when I went in there, I looked at that, the camp is so cramped. I'm not the person who is sitting there for hand out or sitting there in a very cramped place. Even I am a poor person, but I'm not to be like that. So I sneak out from the camp and go into the city, looking for work, any kind of work. So sometimes I got the work, sometimes I don't. But I'm still looking. But you know, in that country, like Thai, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, they are generosity people. If you don't ask for help from the people, one thing that you need to do if you go over there, if you're poor, go to the temple. Asking for food, they give you plenty. That's what I did. But many times I was arrested because I am an alien, an illegal to work in Thailand. They put me in jail. About 2-3 weeks later, they have no charge. They throw me back in the refugee camp. And right there, I couldn't stand the way I'm living in the camp. I sneak out again. This time I go further away. So the further away, when they arrest me, they put me longer in jail. Many times I got beaten up, I got ripped off, I got everything. So how do I come to Canada? I said it's my lucky day. When I was in refugee camp, I have seen the visa officer from many different countries came into refugee camp and interviewed many families. But not for me. I don't know how the people doing it. And I realized later on that the name that they brought in with them, they got it from United Nations. That the people registered in a very different refugee camp. So they came in and they interviewed them, and some were accepted, some were not because of very confused, you know. And that's what happened. In 1978. I quit to going out from the refugee camp because I'm sick and tired of being thrown in jail and got beaten up. So I stayed. So one day I was helping to make the list to rational, you know, give the rice to the people, give the food. I was working on that list in the Thai authority in the refugee camp. And then there were 6 Canadian visa officers came in on a taxi, and one of them walked into the office, asked the Thai ladies, there's only her in the office and me. And I overheard that he asked, "Can you help us to looking for these people?" And the Thai lady don't understand English. "Oh, go, or something like that. And he just shook his head and walked out. And I said, oh, if I say, oh, can I help you? Because I don't want to humiliate. But I understand what he's talking about. So I keep working fast, make my list and give it to her. So the next day I will supply the food. And run down, they were about to leave. So they couldn't get anybody. There were so many people surrounding them, but none of them speak English. So they were about to leave. And I went down. Excuse me, sir, can I help you? And he looked like, oh, you speak English. I said, a little bit, not much. And he handed out the list here. Do you know these people? And when I looked at it, I knew all of them. I said, what can I do for you? And he said, can you get them for us? Sure. Yubon camp, it's a 6 kilometer square. So I ran around in less than 45 minutes to get those people back to the place where they can set up the interval. So when all those people came, and the leader who went into the office, and he asked me, would you like to help me? And I said, sure, what can I do? And he said, I want you to sit, and he said, I want you to sit beside the table and be an interpreter. Okay. And that is what I said, no, I don't want to do that, right? And what happened at the end of the interview, 3 days later, and he asked me, would you like to come to Canada? And I said, how is it possible? And how is it possible? And then he said, what do you think who I am? Oh, I said, I don't know. So bring your family, put your name down, and how many in your family, right? And that's what I did. 3 weeks later, here I am in Bangkok. And in, I think February, at the end of February, just prior to January. So we came to Canada in 1980. The first time we came to Canada, we landed in Montreal. It was -30. So the people who lined up to get on the bus, the first couple walk out in the shirt like this. Because we came from the hot country, what do you expect? How can we bring the cold? So the first couple walk out and they scream, "Ah!" They jump back in. And I asked behind the line, I said, what's going on there? And some come, oh, it's so cold. I said, what? It's so cold, we cannot get out. And they run around looking for the blanket to wrap us around to go in the bus. So in that is the story, short story. I wish I could have more time to tell you, but I have my story written on the Salvation book. I was on the television. I was on the live talk television a few times, but today I thank God that I am part of this. I wish I have more time to say something about it, but I thank God, I thank you all that allowing me to be part of your conference, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. We are going to have time for questions and answers at the end, and so I hope that we will get to hear more of your story. So now I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Nu Van Nguyen, who will be telling his story.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big honor for me to spend up today and speaking in front of all of you. This is the first time as being in Canada for 30 years. I have the opportunity to speak. Of course, I'm very nervous. So, Lee, be patient with me about my story. Thank you first, and thank you God to give me this opportunity today. And I thank you, the Canadian government, and people during the time we live in here. many support from them. Thank you. So my name is Nu Van Nguyen. I'm born in the city of Saigon in 1947. As you know, the Vietnamese history, 1954, we divide by two regions as two nations. The North belonged to the communists, and the South belonged to the capitalists, and I was born in the South. As many young people from that time, when I was over 20, just the second year of the law school in Saigon. The Vietnam War between North and South escalating very strong. So we have to be trapped. That time I was 22 years old, 1968 here. And I choose to join the Navy. So I was graduate from the South Vietnamese Academy located in Nha Trang City, the coast of Vietnam. After the graduation, I served in the Navy until 1975. And that's April 30, 1974, 5. That's, as you know, the fall of Saigon. A lot of people is follow the way to escape with the American fleet. That time, the operation in the Pacific Ocean. We not choose what, because with my thinking that time, the country had to be unified. So I want to stay with my country. As a lot of young people at that time. After that, we was called to resist with the government. And around a month later, we were sent to the BOW camp, or they call re-education camp, until 1981, 6 years long, very hardship. After 6 years long in the old camp and in the jungle, just a little bit of story. The BOW camp prisoner, we have to eat and survive. Anything green, anything moving for living. From that, during the time in the camp, I figured out we all make a big mistake to stay, but that's our fate. Thinking about us in the camp, that time, all the prisoners, we all have the same situation, the same thing. We eat the same thing, we live the same situation. But with about the people outside, like my wife and all of my friend family. After I get out of the camp, then I know we still better than them, even they not in the prison, in the camp like us. Because we all have the same kind of life. But like my wife and other wife of my friend, they have to struggle with their life during that time. Because as the opposite of the government that time, like us, they never trust us. And they always look at us as enemy. So our family, from the outside society, being treated the same. With my wife, she had to fit for herself, and my kid, just 1 year old, they have to sell everything to have food day by day. But we inside, we still provide a little bit for surviving. We don't have to sell anything. I thank you, my wife, to bring up my kid during that 6 year. So that's the reason, after I was released from the camp in 1981, right away, I planned to escape the country with any price, even though I know that we don't have much chance, but we had no other option. So after a few tries, thank God, we made it in the refugee camp of Indonesia. And after 6 months, stay in the refugee camp, we are interviewed and accepted by the Canadian delegation to come to Canada. What a happy day. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Kim Nguyen, who will also be standing. I thought everyone would want to sit, but you're very brave speakers. So, Kim, thank you.
I'll try to make it as short as I can. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Phương Kim Nguyen. I was one of a group of refugees from Vietnam 33 years ago, known as the Boat People from Indochina. I'm currently living in Winnipeg with my husband, who was also a Vietnamese refugee, and our 3 grown children. I'm truly honored to share my journey to this great country to you today. I'm very fortunate. I was born and raised in Saigon, which is known as Ho Chi Minh City. My father was a major in South Vietnamese army, while my father stayed at home raising 5 children. He was killed in the battlefield in South Vietnam at the age of 33. I was 7 years old at the time. As a young widow, my mom worked very hard to support the family and soon became a very successful businesswoman. My mother was originally from North Vietnam. She fled to the South with her family in 1954. When the North came under communist rule, when the communist North Vietnam took over the South Vietnam in 1975, my mother foresaw there was going to be no future for her children. Furthermore, under the communist regime, my father, who were previously honored a war hero, was now considered a traitor, while my mother, labeled a capitalist for her hard work and business success, was constantly harassed by a local official. My mom knew that we had to flee once again. So my mother made a costly arrangement for my brother and to leave Vietnam. This escape was organized under the utmost secrecy, and we would be punished for treason if captured. My mother was aware of the risk as well as the danger lurking in the South China Sea and beyond. But she also understood the sacrifice that one had to pay for freedom. In the summer of 1980, my two younger brothers and I was 22 years old, quietly took a bus to Ca Mau Peninsula, the southernmost location of Vietnam. Upon arrival, we were quickly hidden inside someone's house for about 3 days. We were led to a riverbank where a small fishing canoe awaited us. We climbed into the canoe with several other people and were covered with a large fishing net before being paddled away. We headed to the mouth of the river where we meet the sea, along with other group of people who had arrived on a similar canoe. We boarded onto a larger fishing boat. We were constantly reminded by the captain to move quickly and to keep quiet, as the sea was constantly patrolled by border guards searching for people trying to escape. Once everybody was on board, the fishing boat turned and headed out into a dark, open sea. The rough water immediately made me sick. I was constantly thrown up and in and out of consciousness for many hours. I did not receive any help, as most of the people around me dealing with the same problem. Between periods of nausea, I was able to catch short glimpses of my surroundings: bright sunshine, blue sky, and blue water. I suddenly realized that there was nothing else around us but water, lots of it. We were floating in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I could hardly move around, and I was exhausted from not having anything to eat or drink. There was some rice, but fresh water. The tank had been broken when someone sat on it. We had rice, but no water to cook it with. We all went hungry and thirsty, but we was very happy. We knew that we was at the international water at that time. On the first day of the journey, we saw a large commercial ship in the distance. As we approached it, we waved and screamed for help. The ship ignored us, turned the other way, and picked up speed. We couldn't do anything else but cry in despair. It was in the evening of the same day when we came across two large Thai pirate ships. We did not know that there were pirates until we were very close to them. It was then too late for us to turn around. Our little 30-foot fishing boat was no match to the pirate ship, which was about 2 to 5 times larger. We soon realized that the two pirate ships were fighting with one another, and they were fighting over us. After the battle, one ship took off and the other stayed. The pirates, armed with knives and machetes, ordered everybody to climb over to that ship and leave our belongings behind. We sat on the deck of that ship while they ransacked ours, looking for valuables. A few unfortunate women were forcefully removed and taken to the back of that ship. The pirates stole everything of value from us, including the boat engine and the compass. Afterward, they ordered us back to our boat. They tied our boat to their ship and towed it at a high speed. Our boat began to lose control and started taking on water. The pirates were trying to sink our boat and drown the 87 people on board. Luckily, our experienced captain was quickly thinking and cut the tow rope, releasing our boat from the pirate ship. When the pirates saw this, they turned their ship around and began making circles around our boat, which created huge waves that violently rocked our boat. We were encircled by walls and walls of water, and our boat was losing balance in the rough sea. We were violently tossed around while water continued to fill our small boat. After the pirates tired of making circles around us, they rammed our boat, which caused some damage. Then they left us. It was a very frightening experience. We thought we were all going to die that evening. We came across 2 more pirate ships later in our journey, but they did not harass us, as they know we have nothing left for them to steal. On the 4th day, everyone was extremely hungry and thirsty. There were some people who were so thirsty to the point where they drank ocean water. They got very sick after that, but no one died. As if by a miracle, it rained later in the evening. We caught as many raindrops as we could with dirty plastic containers and anything that could hold water. The captain managed to install a sail and use the sun and stars to navigate. However, that didn't always work, as the wind kept changing direction, and we didn't always have a clear sky. We somehow miraculously managed to reach the shoreline of Malaysia on the 8th day of a leaking fishing boat. They were confronted by Malaysian soldiers. They were pointing their guns at us. They did not want us to land. They wanted us to keep on going. We were all very afraid and confused and did not know what to do. Just then, our boat suddenly fell apart due to a strong wave, and water began rushing in. If this would happen on the open sea, we all would have died. People jumped off the boat and started swimming to shore. Others held on to what they could to stay afloat. The soldiers then started calling out people to help us in. My brother made it to shore on their own. I was carried in as I was so exhausted. I was so happy that I made it to shore alive, while thousands of other people died at sea due to lack of water, food, extreme weather, Thai pirates. We were very lucky, very fortunate. We were all transported to one of the largest refugee camps in Southeast Asia, located on the island of Pulau Bidong, Malaysia. At that time, I had never heard of this place before. The camp was funded by the United Nations and operated by the local authority. Life was very simple in Pulau Bidong. We did not have much, and we spent most of our day trying to find a cool, shade place and relief from the scorching heat of the sun. The camp was infected with rats and other bugs, which normally came out in full force at night. My brothers and I was assigned a small hut that was built in the lumber and straw. This house had been built by other refugees before us. They left it behind when they moved on to another country. I often found myself crying at night in bed because I miss my mom, my sister, especially my older brother, who were imprisoned for trying to escape from Vietnam. Several times a week, I went to USAID office and lined up to receive rice and canned food ration. I took it back to the hut and prepared meals. If you had US dollar, you could use it to buy fresh food and fresh product from the small markets located right in the camp. This market was set up by the refugees. They managed somehow to grow their own products and obtain other fresh food from the local inhabitants. Every week or so, the camp would receive immigration officials from countries such as United States, Canada, Australia, France, etc., who would conduct interviews on selected refugees. And if it's suitable, they would offer a permanent migration opportunity for the interviewee. After staying in the camp for about 2-3 months, my brothers and I were selected for an interview by the Canadian immigration officer. The interview was a success. They then arranged for us to have a medical examination, which went well too. We were eventually offered an opportunity to migrate to Canada. We very graciously accepted it. Although we knew very little about Canada at that time, we were very excited and looked forward to the day when we would arrive and live in a free country. Thank you.
So our last speaker is Mr. Sun. We're going to
Yeah,
sit. You're going to sit, okay.
We thought we'd change things around a little bit.
My name is Sam An, and I'm from France. I was born in 1946. Then I had during the World War II, and in Cambodia, they were fighting 3 times already. Sorry about that, my English is not that good, but my daughter really translate from me. I want to tell you about my story a little bit from the 1979. That during the in 1975, that the Khmer rule controlled everything in Cambodia. The was died about 2 million people. No food, no medicine, everything, have nothing to eat, and we died. And after that, in 1979, we escaped from Cambodia to Thailand. That far away, but we walking by walking. We walking about 22 days. That during that day, my wife was pregnant on 9 months.
Just to make light of it, I was the child in my mother's belly, so I'm here.
I have escaped with 5 children. Yeah. And my wife almost 9 months, she almost delivered. And when I walk from my place in Cambodia in April 15 until the May 7. I climbed the mountain around the 100 mountain. And that day of May 7, and at 7 o'clock in the evening, was raining, but not rain, but a little shower all day, all night. At 7 o'clock in the evening, my wife was delivered at my daughter. In the mountain. Yeah, right.
We apologize. We're a bit emotional because it is a very touching story. During this part of the journey after I was born, when they were escaping, there were 5 children. My dad had to bury 4 of his kids right after he just had another one. Buried a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. At this point, the only person with us during that war was my oldest brother, who is alive and well and lives across the street from us. He helped my parents, well, my dad, because my mother couldn't even go near at this point, and they were a bit delusional without food and water for 22 days hiking up and down the mountains. It was a very hardship for them, and not only that, it's just having to realize that you just lost part of your family. I mean, and you're trying to be okay with well, me, my birth. Pretty much that was part of the journey that really stuck by them hard. And having to cross the river with a makeshift raft with alligator-infested water, they thought they had made it to a safe zone, in which we realized my older brother and my dad had pushed my mother and myself and one child before the passing just across the river. Once we got to the river, we were sent back. We thought we were going the wrong way, or they thought they were going the wrong way, and we were sent back again to the war zone. After all that hard work, they were sent back to the war zone. But my parents persisted with my older brother. They did it again, and they finally made it across the river, in which they camped out at 2 different campsites.
Right. That during that they pushed me back to the Khmer, that the Khmer, that That time is my children four. They was down there, had no food, no nothing to eat, nothing. My little baby had no milk, no nothing. Only 1 month, I lost 4 children. The first thing I lost it, the older one, not the old one, the second one. I carried them until they gone. And that time I was sick. My brother had me to dig the ground to put it in. And after that, about a week, 1 week, one until 4 children are gone. That time I escaped from the Khmer who go through the Thailand. Stay in the jungle, all in the jungle. No water, no food, nothing to eat. And we stay there about September, from May, June to until September. The United Nations come to take me go to the camp. When I get on the camp, like I call it, the first thing in the my road camp, Kluto, the body in Cambodia. That time is my brand is not very good.
At that time, every time there were truckloads of people that came, my parents kept on thinking it was going to be one of their children. Because at this point, they've lost all sense of reality. So they kept thinking one of their children is going to come off that truck. So every day there was a new group that came in to stay at the camp, and every day they were disappointed. It took them a while to realize that their children are not coming back, and that they had to just kind of start life there at the camp, in which, and they did. They stayed at the camp for 5 years. My dad became a teacher at the refugee camp, and
No, I check
and my mother became a seamstress and kind of did anything they could at the camp to use their skills, because you know that's what they used to do before all the war and everything else happened. They did that, and because they were working, they were able to meet different people. My dad was able to apply for immigration at first to the States a couple of times before they were rejected, and then Canada openly, they got the letter they've been waiting for and saying, you know what, come to Canada. And I might want to add, I'm glad that we're here and not the States. I really like our healthcare system. So we got that letter, and they prepared, leaving everything behind, leaving the history, not knowing where any or the rest of the family members were, brothers, sisters of my parents and everything else. But this was an opportunity where they can see freedom. And on behalf of my dad, or even for me, I thank that, because I grew up with the opportunity of going to kindergarten, and mind you, I was a year later and older than everyone else. I already felt left out. But we got the opportunity that a lot of children didn't. Hence the name Samnay, as was mentioned earlier, because I was one of those lucky kids. Most of the children during the war got shot and got buried alive because the Khmer Rouge did not want to hear a baby cry. And for some reason, I didn't cry. I didn't make a peep with no milk, no anything. With the escape from the war, I was quite the quiet child. It's probably why I talk a lot now. But we got the opportunity, and now we're here in Canada, where my dad continues to be the wonderful person that he is, because he endlessly volunteers, he endlessly helped the Cambodian community in the Ottawa area. He was VP for the Cambodian Association of Ottawa Hull for a couple of terms, and now I've actually been elected. I'm on my second term. I'm the president now of the Cambodian Association of Ottawa Hull, and they're just getting used to my younger antics, I guess, and different fundraising techniques of combining two different cultures and still trying to remember who we are and where we came from and what led us to where we are now with the great opportunity that we have. And we thank you for allowing us to come and telling us a part of the story. This is the first time he's able to talk about it out loud in a public forum. I interviewed him once because I was doing a story. Someone was interviewing me of a child who grew up in a home with parents like that, from a journalist student from British Columbia, actually, just last year. And it was the first time I heard the entire story. Growing up, I only heard bits and pieces, and I always cried when I heard bits and pieces, and this is the first time last year I heard the entire story from beginning to end. And honestly, everyone who has gone through that are all heroes, and everyone who's made it here are all heroes for keeping your family alive. And thank you for everybody who was behind it all, for immigration, for having us here, for sponsorship. And now we're in Canada, we're happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. And Sam, I was going to say, I don't think you should ever apologize for emotion. I think emotion is very much a part of the story. So we have a few minutes. I'm going to take up some of the lunchtime because I think that there were so many rich stories that were shared, and I know I cut Pastor Flynn off at the beginning. So we'll maybe take 15 minutes for questions if anyone wants to ask questions of any of the speakers, or if you would like to ask questions of each other or comment. So we'll save some time for that. Sorry, I should say there are microphones in the middle of the room and also to the side.
I feel like we should do The Price is Right and then call you on the
Okay. Just first of all, I think the stories were so moving.
Could you identify yourself so we all know? If you could identify yourself so we all know who.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Peter Dushinsky of the Canadian Immigration Historical Society, former Foreign Service officer. First of all, I think your stories were so incredibly moving that I don't cry easily, but I almost was crying. Like the fact that you're willing to tell them in this manner lends an immediacy to the whole project of the conference and our project of attempting to do this book, which kind of gives it a certain cachet. So thank you very much for doing this. On the last story, the Cambodian father and daughter, I'm sorry I didn't capture your name. I'm not great with...
Sam for short form.
Thank you. Several questions, because I've been kind of doing the reading on what happened in Cambodia in those years. And I didn't catch what your father's occupation in Cambodia was.
In Cambodia, I was a soldier,
I'm sorry.
army.
He was in the army. He was a soldier before, and then also a teacher. So he was a teacher, got recruited as a soldier, came back and stayed at the refugee camp and became a teacher there.
So what really happened to your family during once the Khmer Rouge took over? Is it,
Well, we have some actually families still back in Canada, in Cambodia. I think it was 3 years before my dad actually discovered that he still had a live brother. We got a letter, and it was honestly he got a letter and it said, "I'm alive." They found us somehow, some way, so we were able to reconnect with family in Cambodia after a few years of not knowing if anybody was alive or dead.
okay, and the sending back and forth from the camp, you know, back to, that was, I assume, from Thailand back to Cambodia.
Yes.
Back, how many times did that take place?
They sent us back.
One time.
One time they sent us back before we were able to get back across and stayed.
Do you still have some family left in Cambodia now?
They do, and in actual fact, my parents have just retired and built a house in Cambodia. So they go back every year, and he's leaving Monday.
Wonderful.
They
Shows you how things have changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. My name is Bill Jansen. One of the panelists, and I would certainly agree with the gratitude for your openness. One of the panelists talked about life in the re-education camps there. Could you say a few more words about what things were like and what the re-education process involved, or what was supposed to involve?
Would you please repeat the question one more time, please?
Could you describe what it was like in the re-education camp? What did they try to teach you?
Thank you.
How did they do it?
First of all, when we was just sent to the camp, we all thought that as the war going before, with the American GI who get captured by the Vietnamese communists that time, they call POW camp. But when our time, that time, they call re-education camp. Just a little bit for us to get the idea that we have to be re-educated. That means the people from the South Vietnam have to be re-educated like us to understand the North Vietnamese policy and the system. So, talking about the camp, the first, all of us were sent to the middle of the jungle, scattering all over the countries. I'm talking the middle of the jungle. No house, no camp, nothing. Jungle, that means all trees, all bush. And we have to build the camp from the beginning to live, to the beginning of the day, or the beginning day, we have to build by hand without the equipment. Then we have to create all the equipment. We have to make all the equipment, like a axe, knife, whatever piece of iron we can find. We have to make use of that, and in order to build the camp for us to live in. Second, about the food, which provided by the government, just little bit to eat, a little bit for you to hang on, to live. That's why our prisoner that time have to survive, have to find something for our stomach, because the physical demand of the young people, the stomach is the key. You have to find something to put in day after day. So anything, like I said, anything can move, we can eat, that's vitamin. Anything green, we can eat, that's for veggie. That's all. And at night time, we have to do a lot of confession. I talk about confession. That means they asking you, like interrogate you, to make the story by your own, about your past in the military, or in your base, or in your unit, what you do, and what your position, every day. And every night, the same thing. Thank you.
Can I answer that question more? The word that re-education camp, it is the threat. My country that cut out from the king to the smallest ranking of the army. That's the opinion of the communists. The first thing first that they have to do to eliminate these people. Because they thought that they are the enemies. They fight for so long with these people, they don't want to keep these people. But they said, okay, you need to be re-educated in order for you to understand the new system of the government. I tell you the truth. The high ranking of the army, whereas I was in the battalion at the last, before I jumped. So they took the bus, taking on the high ranking of the army, build a bus and loading them into the airport, taking them on the helicopter, flying to the north, to the education camp. Look like you are a hero. Because you are going to go there and have a new education. When they got there, you know what they do? As soon as the helicopter left, they took out your boot, they took out your uniform, they put you on a prisoner. I can't this, it's not re-education camp, it's eliminated camp. That's what they do. They have no food, like he said. They have no food, no nothing. They said it was camp. There's no camp. You have to build yourself, the place that you're supposed to sleep. You made your own camp. No food, no nothing. Even the king of my country, the king died in only a month because the king never cooked, never looking for food by himself, and put him in that situation how he is going to survive. And that's why in my heart I have to jump and I have to leave. Some people who are very much want to stand up to them, they disappear at night time. They kill you with no mercy because you are the person that we don't need. We want to eliminate you. They call it re-education camp. I call it elimination camp. This is according to the person who survived and escaped. And that's what they do. You go to my country asking for those who went to re-education camp, how many survived? None. None. 100 people go over there, probably a couple to survive, and the rest is dead. So that is what re-education camp in the communist. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. It's elimination. Same like Cambodia. They don't need you. The people who die in the killing field are the people from the city of Phnom Penh. They took them out. Probably he lived outside that city. That's why he survived. If he lived in that Phnom Penh city, he is one of them, dead. And that's what the communists did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm afraid that we have to wrap it up now. So please join me again in thanking the speakers very much for your